Stephen King must be really into the Ramones. In the early version of the script, he makes reference to at least 2 of their songs. So the use of this particular music wasn't something that was added in after the fact. It was in the script. Sheena is a punk rocker girl. Sorry.
You're flying it.
Here's our happy family again.
Got it. Gage is flying it. You got it? Run, buddy.
Oh, isn't Gage just the cutest little kid you've ever seen?
I'm flying.
This scene is just too sweet and perfect. You gotta know something's gonna happen.
It got away from him, that numb shit.
I knew it. It's all Ellie's fault.
Oh, I got this. Daddy, can I fly it now?
Don't let him go in the road, Lewis!
Get him, Lewis! Get the baby!
So this tragedy pretty much ruins everything. Ellie is inconsolable. Rachel is left so shaken that she needs to be heavily sedated just so she can get some rest. But look at Lewis.
Take care, little girl. She needs you.
He's practically catatonic, and he spends almost this entire scene just staring sadly off into space. Things aren't looking too good for the Creed family, are they? You know how when people come back from a funeral, they always say what a beautiful and dignified ceremony it was?
I hope you rot in hell! Where were you when he was playing in the road?
Yeah, they won't be saying that after this one. Okay, thanks for coming, Erwin. Yikes.
You're thinking of putting him up there. Don't deny the thought hadn't crossed your mind, Lois.
That night, Lewis and Judd have one of their talks, and it's pretty easy to guess where this one is going.
What you've been thinking of has been done.
This is another area where the movie differs from the book. In the movie, Timmy Baterman appears mindlessly violent. Again, kind of like a zombie. In the book, he seemed to know things that he shouldn't have been able to know, and he taunted people by pointing out their sins. And really, it wasn't him talking. It was like a supernatural force of some kind was using him as a medium. I'm not sure if that sort of thing would have translated well on screen.
Lewis, sometimes Dad is better. The Indians knew that. They stopped using that burial ground when the ground went sour. Sometimes Dad is better.
I guess one thing that could have been better about the movie is that maybe they could have made it a little more clear why people keep using the burial ground, other than the fact that they're grief-stricken. Judd hints at it here.
You mean that place knew Gage was going to die?
I'm saying the place might have made Gage die because I introduced you to the power.
But what they don't really mention is that the supernatural power behind the burial ground kind of beckons people. And when they use it, they're made to feel really good. It's like a drug. I've heard people complain about this movie having kind of a thin plot. Why does Lewis keep burying people? Is he stupid? Well, it just never really bothered me, and probably because I've read the book, so I understand better what's going on in the story. When the in-laws go back to Chicago, Lewis sends Rachel and Ellie with them, telling them that he'll join them all soon. No good can come of this. Erwin even apologizes to Lewis about that little funeral incident.
I am sorry. What can I say? I lost my mind.
We all lost our minds, Erwin.
Oh, coming from Lewis, that statement is more accurate than any of these characters realizes. Rachel is clearly worried about Lewis, and it's really kind of surprising that she agrees to leave him behind. Not that she can really know what he has in mind, but with the way he's acting, I'd be worried about him being suicidal if I were her.
It's wrong. What happened to you is wrong.
Not as wrong as what's going to happen.
Remember, Doc.
Hey, look who's back! Yep, this movie has graced us with much more Pascal.
The ground is sour.
In the book, he had some subtle influence on things, but mainly the only scenes we saw him in were his death scene and Lewis's dream sequence.
If it doesn't work, if it comes back, and he's like Judd said Timmy Bateman was, I'll just put him back to sleep.
Poor, screwed up Lewis. Put him back to sleep? You really think it's gonna be that easy to kill your son?
It wasn't a dream. It was Pascal. Pascal says Daddy's gonna do something really bad.
I didn't mention it before, but there have been several scenes where Ellie talks about having bad dreams about things that are either already happening or are about to happen. Earlier she predicted Church's death, and this is her second dream involving Gage.
Pascal? Where do I know that name?
Pascal.
Pascal? Was she saying Pascal?
He was trying.
Looks like Pascal has given up trying to reason with Lewis and has now moved on to Ellie and Rachel.
Just
Corporate.
Smart move. Rachel calls Judd asking if he knows where Lewis is.
But if he drops by, I'll tell him to call you.
Don't bother, Judd. I'm coming home.
Rachel, now. You don't want to do that?
I have to do it, Judd. Goodbye.
Rachel? Rachel? You've done it, you stupid old man.
Judd realizes what's happening and decides to put a stop to it, hoping to catch Lewis before he makes it to the burial ground. Then he falls asleep. Hey, cut him some slack. He's like 80. Zelda makes another appearance as Rachel has a nightmare.
Had a strong tailwind, and we expect to arrive at Boston's Logan Airport almost on time.
Thank God.
Okay, Pascal was suddenly reminding me of a certain character from a Saturday Night Live skit.
Massive Head Wound Harry.
Hey, great party. I'm sorry I'm late. I forgot where you lived.
Oh my God!
Don't do that, babe.
Meanwhile, Lewis has dug up Gage and is now taking him to the Micmac burial ground. And there is so much weirdness here, I wouldn't even know where to start.
See? Just imagination.
And speaking of weirdness,
I really don't have anything.
What about the Aries K? The one with the scratch on its side?
I do have an Aries K. But it came in rather beat up, and there's a long scrape up one side. I'll take it. Okay, major credit card and a license.
yeah. So Rachel tries to drive home, but whatever evil forces are at work at the burial ground manage to screw things up for her again.
It's trying to stop you. Do you hear me? It's trying to stop you.
Is anyone there?
Meanwhile, Lewis does the deed.
Come back to me, Gage. Come back to us.
Even though what he's doing is all kinds of terrible and unholy and stupid, and he's obviously lost his freaking mind, I have to admit that part of me wishes it would work. I just really feel for this character. But sadly, the results are predictable. Of course, Judd wakes up too little too late and finds he's not alone.
Gage? Come on out. I brought you something.
That's right, you don't fuck with Judd. I'm sorry, but Fred Gwynn's expressions are priceless. Almost makes it too hard to take this scene so— Oh God! Ah, never mind. God, this scene is so brutal, but it's so weird. I almost want to laugh. An old man is getting his throat ripped out by an undead toddler. But Judd is such a lovable character, I just can't do it. Poor Judd. Rachel makes it back home, ironically by hitching a ride in an Orinco truck.
Thank you so much.
Think nothing of it.
I like how Pascal talks to her even though he knows she can't hear him. But it's been hinted at that she can kind of sense his presence.
It's the end of the line for me, too. I'm not allowed any further.
So maybe he's talking to her just in case she manages to hear him.
I'm not.
She's lured into Judd's house by the voices of people who are supposed to be dead.
I finally came back for you, Rachel. I'm going to twist your back like mine, so you'll never get out of bed again. Never get out of bed again! Never get out of bed!
Oh god, it's Zelda! Oh wait, it's just Gage. Wait, what? Okay, now Gage is more like his book counterpart than Timmy Baterman was. He's able to appear as other people, and he plays other mind tricks later on. It seems weird that Rachel doesn't question any of this. All she cares about is that her dead son seems to be alive again. But people act strangely when they're grieving. They do things that anyone else would think was insane. Otherwise, Silent Hill 2 wouldn't exist.
Oh, Gage. Gage.
I brought you something, Mommy.
Dr. Crusher, report.
She's dead.
I'm sorry, that makes me laugh my ass off every time I see that. It just looks so painful.
Gage.
Lewis finds out pretty quickly what's happened. I like this moment where it reveals that he had put all Gage's toys in one spot so they'd be ready for him when he came back. Now he realizes he won't be needing them. He gets a phone call from Irwin, who asks if Rachel made it home safely, and tells Lewis.
Ellie had a dream that her mother was dead.
Irwin, I can't talk to you right now.
Lewis is just about to follow those little footprints out the door when...
Irwin, I told you I can't talk to you right now.
Alright, just Daddy. Will you come over and play with me?
Notice how Gage could only say a few words when he was alive, and now he's speaking full sentences? Creepy.
Mommy came and I played with Mommy. We played, Daddy. We had an awful good time. Now I want to play with you.
What did you do?
But he's still so cute!
What did you do? I did what I had to do!
Lewis goes to make everything right, as much as he can anyway. And of course, the first thing is getting rid of Church.
Don't mind me.
Lewis is so far gone now that he says the weirdest bit of dialogue in the entire movie.
That's right. Today is Thanksgiving Day for cats. But only if they came back from the dead. Go on. Lie down. Play dead. Be dead!
Aw, rest in peace, Church. One down, one to go.
Gage.
Shades of Silent Hill.
Scared you, didn't I?
And Gage did that!
Gage?
Hi, Daddy. Now I want to play with you.
That little guy is the king of mindfucks.
Let's play.
We also get to see what became of Judd. Ugh. Yeah, Lewis, your son did that. Aren't you proud? And another brutal fight scene erupts. It's hard taking something small like a toddler and making it seem like a threat. Usually it just ends up being difficult to take an enemy like that seriously, and a lot of times they just go with it and don't try. Which isn't always a bad thing.
Sorry, Jack. Chucky's back.
But I think this movie does an amazing job with Undead Gage. You really believe that Lewis's life is in danger here. I'm not saying that the scene is completely without humor, but you generally don't feel the need to laugh until the movie wants you to. You won't want to laugh, but you may want to cry.
No fair.
Gage hates Lewis as much as Church did, and for the same reason. I tend to think that Lewis has a moment of clarity just long enough to realize all that's happened, all of what he did wrong, and how he's lost everything. Well, except Ellie, but she doesn't count.
I'm sorry, Lewis.
One more appearance by Pascal.
But don't make it worse. Don't!
I waited too long with Gage. With Rachel, it will work this time. Because she just died. She just died a little while ago.
Lewis! Don't! Please! Lewis! No!
Aw, sucks to be Pascal. As if we didn't have enough evidence that Lewis has lost his mind, don't they say that the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing over and over, expecting different results every time?
The soil of a man's heart is stonier, Lewis. Man grows what he can, and he tends it. Because what you buy is what you own. And what you own always comes home to you.
Looks like Rachel is back.
Darling.
Will it work this time like Lewis insisted it would? The end. I'm not gonna lie, this movie is just plain wrong, and on so many levels. I mean, you have the deaths of children and old people and animal abuse. At times the level of gore is pretty high, but they knew when to rein it in. They went over the top with the gore at times, but they also knew when it would be a bad idea to do that. We didn't see Gage physically being hit by the truck, for example, and once we see him after he comes back from the dead, he doesn't look horribly mangled or anything. He just looks like Gage with a healed scar on his forehead. Also, we have some very heavy subject matter. Death, specifically the death of a child. Even if handled intelligently, it could be very morose and depressing. But there's some comic relief thrown in, and the movie doesn't take itself seriously all the time, which makes the subject matter a lot more bearable. Even though some of the lines and ideas are kind of funny when taken out of context, Pet Sematary has a way of making you scared when it wants you to be scared, laugh when it wants you to laugh, and even cry when it wants you to cry. Personally, I love movies that work on multiple levels like that, when they evoke a variety of emotions. As for recommendations if you're a fan, well, of course there's the book. I love it, but the pacing slows to a crawl somewhere in the middle, so it's a bit hard to get through that part. But I still recommend it. Some of Stephen King's ideas didn't quite make it into the film, and as much as I love the film, obviously, it's basically a watered-down version of the book, as most film adaptations are to some extent. But there is something out there that's a nice compromise between the film and the book, and it's easy to find on YouTube. It was uploaded by Rent the Spokeman, and it's labeled as Pet Sematary audiobook, but it's really more like a radio play. It's still condensed from the book, but not as condensed as the movie, and it's more accurate to the book.
There's no limit to the horror the human mind can apprehend. When the nightmare grows dark enough, horror spawns horror. Coincidental evils beget other, deliberate ones until at last, darkness covers everything. The interesting question is, how much of this can a man stand and stay sane?
It's oddly relaxing to listen to, but still very creepy, and the acting is good.
The evil will go on.
So why'd you take me there, Judd?
I was too weak to resist. The place has power. I'm scared it used me to get at you through your son. You see what I'm getting at, Lewis?
You're saying the place knew Gage was gonna die?
No, I'm saying the place might have made Gage die because I took you there. I'm saying I might have murdered your son, Lewis.
I even like this version of Ellie better than the movie version.
I'm going to keep things ready for Gage. I'm going to carry his picture and sit in his chair and, you know, get things ready. In case.
It makes a kind of crazed sense. Keep the lines open.
The only thing is that the guy who played Lewis sounds like Randall from Clerks.
I'm not even supposed to be here today. You sound like an asshole!
But it just took a little while to get used
your arm to be here.
Well, I guess that's about it for this episode on Pet Sematary.
Dena, wait!
Is that voice Phaelus?
Yeah?
Okay. What is it?
Well, you know, there was a sequel to this movie. Aren't you going to talk about that?
Oh God, there was a Pet Sematary too, wasn't there? It was so awful. I must have blocked it out.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, but you can't just bring up Pet Sematary without taking a look at its stupid sequel too. It's like Pet Sematary got put in that burial ground and then brought back as the evil Pet Sematary 2, and now it needs to be reviewed to finally kill it off. To not do so would be an insult to dead cats everywhere.
Well, you know, bad horror movies are really your thing, so for the sake of the dead cats, you will have to do the sequel.